everybody. My name is Brittany Willis, and I'm an occupational therapist with Early Childhood Cares. Thanks for watching our videos. This is part of a series that we're doing on picky and restrictive eaters. And I just want to say that Early Childhood Care serves Lane County children from birth to 5 with developmental delays and disabilities. If you have any concerns about your child's development, we invite you to call our front desk at 541-346-2578. And if you have additional questions after watching this video, please go ahead and check in with your current service provider. If you already have our services and are receiving visits, yes, definitely contact them, and we can provide some more strategies for you. So what this topic is about a food jag, and you may be asking, what is a food jag? And it's eating the same thing prepared in the same way every day. Some children, especially those with feeding difficulties, prefer to eat the same food prepared in the same way every day or at every meal. And this is known as a food jag. The main problem with food jags is that children do eventually get bored and burned out from these preferred foods. And once they do burn out of these foods, it's really hard to get them back into their diet. And they may permanently lose this food. So we want to continue to kind of help build their food repertoire, or what foods they're eating. And you may be asking yourself, well, we're here. My child does have a pretty limited amount of food. And so what do we do now? And so I'm going to be talking about a few strategies in this video. So children who food jag, as I mentioned, they usually have pretty limited diets. They may have eliminated, one or two food groups completely from their diet. They may prefer foods that are certain colors, certain textures, like only beige foods or only crunchy foods. And we did talk about how oftentimes once they burn out on these foods, they drop it from their diet. And this can be really stressful, especially for caregivers. What do we do now? They already don't have a whole lot of foods to replace, the food that they may have dropped. And so it can be a really stressful time. And just knowing, what do we do? And I think one option, if you're able to, and if your child has enough foods in their diet, is to make sure to offer any one particular food only every other day. So say their very favorite food, they like to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They request this for every meal, but say they had it today, their favorite peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you wouldn't necessarily offer it for, a couple days, actually. So you'd have a day in between. And you would, give them other foods for their meals and snacks, to basically just give them some time and not kind of be giving them the foods every single day or at every single meal. And you may be asking, well, what if my child doesn't have enough foods to be able to, replace that peanut butter and jelly sandwich for, snacks and dinner for that evening and following day? What do I do then? And this can be a strategy that you can kind of incorporate whether they do have enough foods or not. I think it's always a good practice, if you're able to just kind of change up a little bit and how you're presenting foods. And one way to do that is, by changing the color or shape of foods. And oftentimes that change can be easier than, say, changing the flavor or the texture of foods. So color and shape are typically ones that you can you can make really small changes to where a child will still accept them. And that can be kind of a tricky um, thing to figure out. You want the just noticeable difference. And so at first, a child may be resistant to any type of change in their preferred food, and they may notice even very small changes in any food properties. And the goal is for you to change the food just enough that it is noted by the child, but so where they will still eat it. So it is a fine balance. And you'll kind of have to, have a little bit of detective work in figuring out what that just right change for your child will be. Um, but one example for changing shape is like for that sandwich, changing it up into quarters instead of just in half, or maybe having, and the child can watch too. Sometimes I think watching that process of having their sandwich cut in half, which maybe that's their preferred way of eating their sandwich, to cutting it into quarters, and having them see that process can sometimes be helpful. um, and you could even bring in with sandwiches, you can bring in cookie cutters of different shapes. If they really like dinosaurs, you can use dinosaur cookie cutters. Or if they like shapes, you can kind of give them some choices as to what shape they may want their sandwich in. And so this can be a really nice way to just make a really small change and make it really fun and playful. Uh, Changing color can also be one way of changing a food. Say your child really likes vanilla yogurt and really doesn't like any other flavors. Well, you can kind of start by maybe doing a little science experiment and having them choose which color they want to change their yogurt into. And maybe you start really small and you put a little bit of that yogurt into a bowl, and just use a little bit, of, the red or the blue food coloring, and you don't do the whole yogurt, but they're kind of seeing that change happen, and maybe kind of narrating like, oh, I'm going to give it a try. Oh, even though it's red, it still tastes like vanilla, so giving them some um, a little bit more information just with your words that you're using. Um, so changing taste, that can be a bigger change, and one that's can sometimes be a little bit too big, but I want to give you some ideas. So adding different, like extra butter, or maybe adding some extra cheese, like for if they really like their mac and cheese, maybe just adding just a little bit of shredded cheese to their mac and cheese. So you're kind of changing it up a little bit and adding a little bit more cheese to that sauce. um, Changing texture. So like if you're making pancakes, you can add an extra egg or oil. Can also be different changes that you can also incorporate. But again, changing taste and texture are going to be a little bit harder changes to make, versus just changing shape and color. And I do want to note that, even offering things in different types of containers. I've seen a lot of different ideas, like offering snack in like a muffin tin. That can be even, sometimes kids look at not only the food on their plate, but the plate as part of the food. So, changing the way that you present them can also be a food change. It can, if they really don't like changing the color or shape, you can start even with how it's being presented. So there's lots of different ideas there. And kind of offering them choices too. I think sometimes you get some more buy-in there, like with the cookie cutters. What shape do you want to use? But even like, what plate do you want to use? Do you want to use the purple plate, or do you want to use the green bowl? And kind of having your kids help in that process. Um, I know that the pouches, sometimes they're the only way that you can get like a fruit or vegetable for a child to eat them is through the pouches. And maybe this might be too big of a change, but you could also try it is having them, squeeze some into a bowl and trying it out with a spoon instead of having it in the pouch container. Um, so those are some small ways to make some changes. And again, providing choices. I think a lot of times in the mealtime routine video, we've talked about how meal times can be kind of a stressful time for some kids that are picky eaters. And so giving them options can sometimes give them a little bit more control. And so do you want it to be a square or rectangle? Do you want the food in a bowl or a plate? Do you want the orange or green popsicle? Do you want a big or a little piece? And kind of talking about how food changes too as you take bites of it. I mean, naturally, as we eat our food, it does change shape. So that might be kind of a nice way to kind of help your child bring attention to that. Um, and I think modeling foods is always a great way, kind of giving them some more information about foods. Um, my food's really crunchy or really juicy or really sweet or really sour. And just having fun with food too. I think having different utensils to use can be sometimes really fun. Maybe some plates with some different characters on it, that can also kind of provide maybe a little bit more buy-in. And just trying to make these really really small changes, just enough to where your child notices but still accepts and eats the food. So that is all the information that I have today. But if you do have some additional questions about food jags and just, how to expand your child's diet, please go ahead and talk to your service provider, and we can talk about more strategies. All right, take care. Thank you.